There are literally hundreds of leadership professionals that I have coached and trained in the distinction between a term and emotional intelligence, emotional resilience. And what I'm coaching them in is the distinction between resilience and emotional fortitude. So let's just start with the former. Emotional resilience is the capacity to adapt, to recover from stressful situations. Basically, it is you tripped and your ability to dust yourself off, get back up. The key when we hear this word, emotional resilience, or even resilience, grit, is that it's an after skill. Something stressful has already happened. The emotions have already heightened. The body's heart rate and blood pressure is elevated. The emotional signals are all firing. The brain, it's trying to preserve itself while attempting to access your IQ and stay objective and focused and present in the stressful event. And then your emotional resilience kicks in. The opportunity of like, oh, I saw what just happened, and now I can dust myself off, reset myself, move forward. What emotional resilience isn't is the absence of emotional and physical and intellectual reactions. It isn't staying cool as a cucumber when things are stressful. So this is where emotional fortitude comes into play. Emotional fortitude is being non-reactive to when stressful events want to elevate the heart rate and the blood pressure. When we look at individuals that have higher levels of emotional fortitude, we are going to identify they have a very high tolerance for stress. You, in fact, need quite drastic circumstances and stressors to be present before you crack or before you react if you have a high level of emotional fortitude. We can take Alex Honnold, an extremely prolific solo climber. He has a very high tolerance for stressful situations because he has a high emotional fortitude. He doesn't have the same emotional heightening, which interrupts with how his body is functioning and how he is objectively considering what's going on, intellectually and rationally thinking about things. Why is it so important to identify the difference between these two things? Most individuals are working on their emotional resilience, their ability to come down from having the heightened reaction, to recapture their intelligence quickly, because there's this recognition of I'm a human being, I have a lot of emotions, they're going to disrupt me. My job is to make sure that disruption is very short-lived so I can get back to optimum performance. However, if more people started working on their emotional fortitude, then they would notice that they're just less reactive because they have a high tolerance for the emotions that cause physical and intellectual and emotional stress. So how do you build that kind of tolerance? How do you build emotional fortitude? One of the simplest, least complex ways of practicing emotional fortitude is to simulate emotional disruption, to put yourself in more and more situations and practice non-reactivity. Here's an example. Horror movies elevate my fear response very quickly. The more I watch horror-based films, the more I can practice non-reactivity, which is a combination of managing my breathing before the emotion wants to shift it. And if I manage my breathing, my heart rate and blood pressure don't change. But it's also addressing mind, the chatter and narrative that's going on in my head, because my brain wants to predict what's about to happen. So it's going to get ahead of the story. So it's going to prepare my body to react, which means elevate the heart rate and blood pressure, get ready for fight or flight. So when you think about yourself in your workplaces and the stressors are coming at you, to build more emotional fortitude so that you are non-reactive, you have to place yourself in situations to stimulate that stress. And you have to practice not allowing your breath and your brain to get ahead of yourself. You can practice this in real time. Day in and day out situations are opportunities to practice this. Sometimes we would call it self-mastery. Other times we're going to call it brain repatterning. Both are correct.